this is Dr. Anisha S. Today I'll be discussing about the general features of bryophytes. So, what are bryophytes? Bryophytes are a group of lower plants coming under the category of mosses, liverworts and hornworts. They are actually non-vascular plants, and because of that reason they are generally small in size. This is to ensure survival even though they lack vasculature for conduction of water and minerals. Owing to the requirement of water as well as terrestrial conditions for survival, they are also referred to as amphibians of plant kingdom. Coming to the habit, they are green in color and they can have a leafy or thallophytic nature. Regarding habitat, they can be seen growing in moist, shady and humid conditions. The vegetative structure is completely adapted to grow in terrestrial conditions, but when it comes to sexual reproduction, there is a requirement of water. Water is required so that the male gamete can swim to the female gamete and fertilization can happen. These are some images. They have been taken from the internet. They show lush growth of bryophytes. In the first two images, you can see bryophytes growing luxuriously in forest conditions, which are actually good humid forest. And the last one shows thallophytic as well as leafy forms of bryophytes. Coming to the general characters, the plant body is green in color and the dominant part is gametophytic in nature, which forms the major part of the life cycle. The gametophytic generation can be of two types. It can be thalloid or a leafy type. In the thalloid gametophyte, the plant body is prostrate or otherwise dorsiventral in its orientation, as can be seen from this image, and it is attached to the substratum by means of very thin hair-like structures which are called rhizoids. These rhizoids also help in uptake of water and minerals from the substratum. Now, in some thalloid forms, there are very minute scale-like structures that can be seen in some of the members. Now, coming to the leafy gametophyte, the leafy gametophyte shows a linear axis, a vertical axis is there, and at the base of which can be seen rhizoids which help in attachment and absorption. This stem-like axis, it bears green leafy appendages as can be seen in this image, and these appendages, it gives a leaf-like appearance, a leafy appearance. This category is generally referred to as mosses. The sporophytic generation in both the leafy as well as thalloid forms, the sporophytic generation is short-lived and it is partially or completely, in most cases it is completely dependent on the gametophytic generation. The sporophytic generation, it is mainly concerned with the formation of spores. The internal morphology or the anatomical features, internally it is the thallus will be generally homogeneous or maybe a differentiated parenchymatous type. In the differentiated type, there may be zonation into a photosynthetic region that carries chloroplast and is green in color, and a storage region which is meant for storage. In mosses, the anatomical feature may be like a cylindrical in cross section which surrounds parenchymatous cortical cells. Coming to the reproduction, in bryophytes, reproduction happens by vegetative and sexual means. Vegetative reproduction takes place by tubers, by fragmentation, which is the most common method. Then there may be adventitious branches and also gemme bodies. This is an image. I have taken this from the internet and it shows different types of vegetative propagules. In the image D, you can see tubers. In image E, gemmacup on the thallus surface can be seen, and image F shows individual gemma. Here in image O, adventitious branches can be seen, and image P shows protonema. These are the vegetative methods. Coming to the sexual reproduction, it is of oogamous type in the case of bryophytes. And here there can be seen distinct male and female sex organs, the male being antheridium and the female being archegonium. Here, this is the life cycle of bryophytes. Here it can be seen the gametophytic generation, which produces the male gametophyte. You can see the male gametophyte and female gametophyte, and there are the antheridia and archegonia respectively. Then here you can see the fertilization, sperm reaching the egg, and finally embryo develops from the zygote and gives rise to the sporophytic generation, from which the haploid spores are released as a result of meiotic divisions, and finally the gametophytic generation is produced. So this is how the cycle continues. Now coming to the sexual reproductive parts, the male sex organ or antheridium, it is a club-shaped multicellular structure with a jacket and an interior androcyte mother cell. It's an aggregate of androcyte mother cells which is surrounded by a multicellular jacket. These androcyte mother cells, they undergo division to give rise to anthrozoids. These anthrozoids, they are finally released and they will be reaching the female gamete. The female sex organ is archegonium, which is a flask-shaped structure. It has got a venter region and a narrow neck. The venter region, it bears the egg. At the time of fertilization, the male gamete, that is the anthrozoid, it swims towards the female gamete, which is the egg, and this is facilitated by the presence of water. That is why water is said to be necessary for the survival or completion of the life cycle. Now fertilization takes place and it results in the formation of diploid zygote. The zygote undergoes division and it gives rise to the embryo, and this embryo, it enlarges and this leads to the venter enlarging in size, and it develops a wall called calyptra. It's a multicellular envelope referred to as calyptra. Now, as further division takes place, the embryo develops into a sporophyte. It develops a spore-producing structure called sporogonium, and this entire thing is called the sporophyte. The sporophyte, it is simpler in structure when compared to the gametophyte, and it is dependent partially or wholly on the gametophyte. The sporophyte is mainly concerned with the production of spores. The sporogonium can be differentiated into a basal foot region, seta, and a capsule. The capsule is the spore producing region and it contains the spore mother cells which give rise to the spores. The capsule produces non-motile cutinized spores by the process of meiosis. The spore mother cells, they undergo meiosis and haploid spores are produced. These spores are similar in morphology and hence bryophytes are homosporous. Now these spores, when they find favorable conditions, these spores germinate and they give rise to the gametophytic generation. The gametophyte is produced, which may directly develop into a thallus or indirectly by forming an intermediate stage called protonema. The formation of protonema is generally observed in mosses, and thallophytes, the thalloid forms, they tend to develop directly into the thallus without any protonema stage. The life cycle of bryophytes thus can be seen, it is completed in two generations, that is a gametophytic generation and a sporophytic generation, and these two generations, they generally alternate with each other. The two generations are different in their appearance, in their nutrition modes, and also the reproductive method. And such type of generation where the gametophyte is distinct from the sporophyte, it is called heterologous type of alternation of generation, and it is a constant feature that can be seen in bryophytes. So these are the characteristics of bryophytes. I hope it is clear to all of you. Thank you.